I do believe this is the first time he's ever been on the show. We've been on the air for 7 years. I can't believe it. He broadcasts games with one of my favorite people on the planet, in Chris Fowler. He is Emmy-nominated for his great work in calling these games. You see him on NFL, on College Game Day, and he's also an author of a new book called Out of the Pocket, Football, Fatherhood, and College Game Day Saturdays. He will be part of the ESPN, ABC, Disney family of networks coverage of the NFL Draft. He is Kirk Herbstreit. How are you, Kirk?
I'm great, bud. How are you?
I'm better for talking to you. Happy draft week. Happy draft week.
Yeah, same to you. It's finally here.
I know. Oh my gosh. And it just seems the talent evaluation portion of the NFL calendar gets longer and longer each year. And I would have to say that Justin Fields probably has had about enough of it right about now.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, I mean, it happens every year, especially at that position. And the fact that we have so many of them, it just leads to, nitpicking, and everybody's going to have an opinion. The only people that matter, obviously, are going to be on Thursday and Friday, on Saturday when they make these decisions. But yeah, I think these players, they all say the right things. It's part of it, but we're all human, and when anytime you're going to get criticized, it's not fun. So yeah, I think they're ready to be done with it and hear their name selected.
Well, Justin Fields in particular, Kirk. I mean, because the night that The Ohio State, and I think I am saying it properly.
I just say Ohio State. I don't really get that. I never really have.
Well, just so then we'll just go Ohio State, and I'll take all the tweets.
Yeah.
But the night Ohio State just absolutely took care of business, to say the least, against Clemson, Fields was electric. I mean, he made every possible throw. To me, that was like an actual real live pro day where he was making all the throws on a route tree. And ever since then, all we're hearing is he's not Trevor Lawrence, he's not Zach Wilson, that it was Mac Jones who was traded up for. Now maybe it's Trey Lance. And the last thing I'm hearing now is, Mac Jones has shown how smart he is in the room, and Trey Lance is as well. And now the whole concept you're hearing is, we're not saying Justin's not smart, but it just makes it's nuts. So I just want your full evaluation of Justin Fields, of all the games of his that you've called, about what he's bringing to the table here.
And I just did this QB 21 with all these guys, and kind of went over an hour with each of them, and got to know them on a whole different level. Even though when you do these production meetings, you get around these programs, you get to know them on a pretty good level. But it's not that you have to put one up and knock another one down. I'm very impressed with all these guys, but I don't understand. If you just asked me, from covering football as closely as I do the college game, and you said, tell me about these college quarterbacks, I would have said going into the season, it was Trevor Lawrence 1A, Justin Fields 1B. And coming out of the season, when the season was over, before we got into the draft mode, if you would have asked me, I would have said Trevor Lawrence is 1A and Justin Fields is 1B. And some people maybe would have flipped that. And then we get into these last 3 or 4 months. And, of course, Zach Wilson, I had him last year as well. He's an ultra-talented guy and can create and is not afraid to create, which is important. And that's kind of the new trend, right, with these college quarterbacks coming out, with what we're seeing from Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. It seems like that's like the new flavor of the month or the year for these NFL teams. But I don't get the criticism of Fields, especially he's not accountable or he's not willing to work hard, last one to show up, first one to leave. Everything I've ever been around, I've always walked away with a very favorable impression of speaking with him. I've never walked away going, look, good thing he's physically gifted, because, whoa, he doesn't have a chance. Like, I never even occurred to me. I've always thought the opposite. Always thought that he's the alpha in the room. Like, when he speaks, everybody gets quiet. No coaches around. He's the guy. He's the straw that mixes the drink. And hardest worker on the team. And he's a guy that transferred in, and with kind of like Russell Wilson when he left NC State, within a month he was voted captain because he had that it factor. That's Justin Fields. I mean, he leaves Georgia. He's never even been to Ohio. And within a couple of months, he's the guy. And so that doesn't just happen at a school like Ohio State. And Ryan Day, you talk to the NFL folks, Ryan Day is respected as a play caller and a guy that works with quarterback as anybody that works in the college game. And he would tell you, he goes on and on and on. I don't know if you've spoken with him. He goes on and on, bragging about him. If you remember when Dwayne Haskins came out, he was complimentary, but he was kind of like, I wish he'd come back for another year.
Right.
He was not going on and on and on. With Fields, he is. And so I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm still shocked that the Jets are not going to select him. I still think maybe they're just kind of kidding, and the number 2 pick will be Justin Fields. I don't know how you pass on him, personally. With 6'3", 224 pounds, and runs a 4.4. Not to mention he can make every throw. Like all these college quarterbacks, it's going to be. It'll take some time as far as him picking up NFL coverage and doing what he needs to do. Ideally, he would go somewhere and kind of have a chance to sit there and watch and learn from a veteran, and then kind of like Patrick Mahomes did year 2, take off and go and become, I think, an elite player. So I don't know. I'm mystified by the whole thing.
Emmy Award winner, Emmy Award nominee for 2021, and author Kirk Herbstreit here on the Rich Eisen Show. And look, this conversation we just had has taken up a ton of oxygen, and what the Niners are going to do, and what Atlanta might do, and what the Bengals should do, all of that. And we just ignore the fact that one of the most generationally talented players at the quarterback position is going to be first overall, and the guy who's going to draft him is Urban Meyer, for crying out loud. And you got 2 guys, and much was made about Trevor Lawrence's quotes to Sports Illustrated, and the things that I made of it was just, what if Justin Fields had said it? It would have been just a whole big to-do. And the fact that, Trevor Lawrence says that, or others say he doesn't really need football and stuff like that, is unfair to him to criticize it. To me, it was just, I was being critical of the fact that what if others, or if Josh Rosen had said it, for instance, a couple of years ago. But to me, my concern is, if there is one at all, is you got quarterback who feels that way because nobody's ever pointed to the scoreboard and said you should have a chip on your shoulder because normally Trevor's winning. And Urban Meyer, who I don't know the last time, if you'd have to probably go back to Florida to say that he's lost double-digit games just in terms of collectively. How do you think they're going to take losing, which is going to come in the NFL? How will they handle that collectively, do you think?
Yeah, I think keeping an eye on Urban. I'm sure that every crew that goes in on a weekly basis and does a Jags game will have a camera assigned to him just to watch some of his reactions on the sideline. Right. Because he's pretty animated when things are not going well. I think Urban is, when he took the job and he looked at the situation in Jacksonville, he understood. Now, he's very confident that eventually he's going to build a winner. How soon? We're all left to guess when that might be, but I think he understands, what he's up against and what he needs to be able to do. And there's going to be some growing pains along the way. I would say this about Trevor Lawrence. I think the quote you're referring to is basically where he came out and said, football matters to me, but it doesn't define me, kind of thing.
Yep.
I really feel, keep in mind that this kid he started since he was a freshman in high school. He lost 2 games in high school. He lost 2 games in college as a 3-year starter. He got to the national championship and won as a freshman, got there his second year, lost it to Bama, and then loses to Ohio State in the semifinal. That doesn't happen ever. 3 years and that kind of production, had 2 losses. This kid has a fire inside him that he doesn't necessarily show on the exterior. He is really legitimately walks the walk with his faith. And I think what he meant by what he was saying was the results of this game, whether we win a Super Bowl or we lose a lot of games, I'm still going to be who I am. I think that's what he was trying to say. I don't think he was trying to say, I think that's why he came back out on the I think he tweeted out, hey, you guys, some of you guys are misunderstanding what I was trying to say. I think he's got a burning desire to win. I mean, how could you have those results? 4 losses in 7 seasons of starting.
It's crazy.
And not be competitive. Like, I don't know. How many kids do you know that you've ever covered that started quarterback as a freshman in high school? I'm more impressed that he started having 4 sons. I'm more impressed that he started as a freshman in high school. That's a 14 15-year-olds playing against 18-year-olds.
It's crazy,
That's
Kirk.
a hard thing to do. That's to me ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
So,
I know, and I've talked about it with Albert Breer, and like the only person you could kind of compare him to, maybe being first overall in the draft, is Andrew Luck, and then Peyton Manning before, in terms of what you're bringing into it. And again, I have no problem with what he had to say, because you know better than most, having covered a lot of these guys in college. And then 4 years later, these big men on campus have to figure out what to do next in their lives. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to Trevor, just on average, right? So I love the fact that guys come into the draft saying that there's more to life than just football. I have no problem with that. I'm just wondering, hey, you said 2 losses in high school, 2 losses in college. He may have more than that by Halloween, to say the least. You know, and how is he going to handle? Like, he may get a chip pretty damn fast. Him and Urban together. Yeah. You know, like, that's my question.
The one thing he used to tell me, and I really liked about him, because when you look at him, you don't think this. He's 6'6", 220 pounds, and you know he's a quarterback. But you go back to the Ohio State Clemson game, not this year, but last year, when he got hit by Sean Wade on that blitz, and it looked like he may have broken his collarbone and was going to be out of the game, and he goes out for a couple plays, comes back in, and leads them back to a victory, and ran the ball that night better than he threw it. I mean, he was running. And I talked to him about that with no cameras around, and just talked to him, and he said, you know, I've always tried to look at myself, and this goes back probably to my high school coach, I want to, in my mind, be the toughest guy on the field. Like, I want to be – I don't want to be the quarterback that can't be touched. Don't hit me. You know, I've got the red jersey on. And so his mentality, it tells you about a toughness that he brings to the position. Because when I evaluate quarterbacks, you know, it's great to look at Luck and Peyton and Trevor and their physicality and their size and their arm strength. But I love the intangibles. I think any great quarterback who's going to – and you look at the guys today in the NFL – the guys that win, and Tom Brady at the top of the list, the mental toughness that they bring, the intangibles that they bring to the table, the way they make the room feel, we're going to win today. I don't care about the weather. I don't care if we're playing home or away. I don't care what the odds are. We got our guy. We're going to win today. He's going to bring that element into that locker room. So they're made like Peyton had in Indy. There may be some growing pains, but don't ever underestimate the intangibles of what he'll bring to the position. I think that part of it may be his greatest quality.
Kirk Herbstreit, ESPN college football analyst, and he'll be part of you're with Reese, right, on ABC
Reese
and McShay?
And Des and Todd McShay on ABC on Thursday and Friday night.
You don't need to know this more than you probably already do, but Des is one of my favorite people on planet Earth.
No, of course he is. Are you kidding me?
Just in terms of joy that he's brought to me, and just the person that he is on top of it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Did Bo ever try to recruit you? Did Bo ever knock on your door?
Bo did. Bo and my dad coached together, and we're good friends. And so after my junior year, I went up to Ann Arbor, and we were going to go up and on a fishing trip, and Bo asked my dad if we'd stop by.
Sure.
And he wanted to talk to us, and I did. And he pulled me into his office by himself. He asked my dad to walk out, and he looked me right in the eye with his glasses on. And I was a Bo fan. He was like,
sure.
I bow down to Bo.
Yeah.
And when you grew up in my family, and even though he's Michigan,
it's all good.
And he's like, can I recruit you? Are you going to Ohio State? Is it done? Or can I recruit you? And I was like, no, it'd be an honor for you to recruit me. And of course, in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to go to Ohio State, but I wanted to be recruited. I wanted to be recruited by Bo.
Yeah.
So there was no way I was going to say, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm going to Ohio State. But no, I was all about Jerry Hanlon, Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you're from Ohio in that era in the mid '80s, you know, Michigan was all over Ohio.
Well, look at some of the greatest players in the history of Michigan football. They're from Ohio. I mean, Charles,
absolutely.
Des. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, please. Yep. I mean,
the list goes on and on. Yeah, when they were rolling, they had northeastern Ohio. Occasionally, they get into southwest Ohio, but that northeastern Ohio was like a pipeline. You know, going of course with Bo and his ties into Ohio. But yeah, that's when they were at a very different level. I hope they get back to that level. I miss that, to be honest.
Well, That sounds like a very passive-aggressive thing to say to me, Kirk. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, I'm saying, no, man. I do. I'm not your typical Ohio State
I know
guy.
that. I know that.
I
but
pull for Michigan every game except one. That's the way
I get it. No, I totally understand that. But
and it's good for the Big Ten, right?
Oh, God, no, it's just you're piling it on now. You're piling it on right now.
I'm serious. I'm serious.
By the way, I covered Bo in his last season for the Michigan Daily, and I was scared of him. There's no other way to put it. I was so intimidated by him.
Sure.
And he had a weekly press conference at a local, inn, and we would sit at this big dining room table, and he would sit at the head of it, right? And he would hold court. And I barely asked a question because I was so damn nervous. And I got there early one time. And I'm sitting there and I'm having lunch. It's a hamburger. And who comes walking in but Bo? And he sits down at the head of the table. And I don't say a word. He doesn't say a word. And then he looks at me and I look at him and he goes, "How is that? My doctor won't let me eat any of those anymore." And I'm like, "Coach, I'm not going to lie to you. It's pretty damn good." And he goes, "Damn it." And other people then walked in the room, so I didn't have to have more of a conversation with him. But that's basically my interaction with Bo, my first ever.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't blame, it's Bobby Knight had that same kind of vibe about him.
No doubt.
Big Ten. Like Bobby, it's like Bobby and I used to walk in there when I was doing local radio in Columbus. I used to walk into a post-game presser. There was no chance I was going to ask a question. I just wanted to watch. I just wanted to watch people ask him questions and have him look at them like, "Did you seriously just ask me that question?" He
wanted my hamburger so bad. It was so funny because he had all those heart problems. His doctor wouldn't let him have it. Before I let you go, let's talk about your book. What's this about? Why'd you do it? What do you got for me on that, Kirk?
Gene Wojciechowski, who I work with at ESPN,
phenomenal.
He's a great guy, and he's brought it up to me in the past. And when COVID hit last March, he came up to me or called me in April and asked me if I had any interest. I've always kind of thought I'd do that down the road. And then when the world went upside down, I thought this may be a good time to look back and think about some of the things I've been through, just my own personal journey of some stuff that I went through that maybe can help other kids. I was painfully shy. I'm talking like would never give up and give a speech in a class, or just hard for me to make friends, just a really, really quiet, introverted kid. And my parents divorced when I was 8 or 9 years old. And so between moving constantly and being, shy, I just thought, when I tell people that story, they're like, "What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?" And it's an example of how life changes, and how you change and grow. And so we just talked about, it's a lot of football, but there's a lot of stuff on my personal journey of stuff I've been through, and it's not just XOs and football at all. So I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to.
And it's where all books are sold. You with Gene Wojciechowski, football, fatherhood, and college game day Saturdays. Kirk, you and I know a lot of the same people. Fowler is one of my favorite on the planet. His better half, Jennifer. Reese, who you're going to be broadcasting with, I did SportsCenters with in 1996.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
you're a fortunate man to work with those people, and I love you and Fowler.
I agree.
You and Fowler are a great listen. Just terrific.
Thank you.
Big time stuff.
Thank you. I'm lucky to be with him, and big fan of yours, always have been, and good to see you from time to time, and appreciate you having me on, and congratulations on your well-deserved Emmy nomination as well.
Right back at you, Kirk. I'll see you in Ohio. I'll see you.
Okay.
I might be less popular than you there, but I'm going to use you as a human shield for just a few minutes if you don't mind. Okay, you got it. Take care. That's Kirk Herbstreit, everybody. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.